Hey everybody, so I am gonna do a project today with the LEDiva. I just got a bunch of chips in the mail last night for some new ones, and I figured I would solder one of them up together here for you to check out how I do surface mount soldering. So here is one of the chips that I'll be soldering today, and here are a bunch of the components that I'll be putting on that. So some of these components are a little small. You can see right here, this is where the IC, the AT-Tiny85 goes. This is a very small resistor and battery component. Those are pretty much the only surface mount ones on there. Everything else is pretty standard through hole. So I'm just going to snip off these extra tabs really quick. And then I'll show you how I get this stuff going. So my soldering iron is all heated up already. I'm gonna get a nice clean tip. So I don't actually have a really fine tip on my soldering iron. You can see I have kind of the screwdriver tip. It is a bit big, but I find it works alright. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tin one of those pads for the resistor, and then I'm going to pick this up here, and what I do is I use that to kind of hold the resistor down on one side. So I'm going to heat it back up and then tack that one side, and that pretty much holds it in place. Then I can go ahead and solder the other side in place. And there we go, nice little surface mount 10K resistor soldered in place there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this AT-Tiny85. So it can be a little difficult to see, but there's a tiny little black dot right there in the corner, and that should line up with that little mark up there on the board as well. And just like that resistor, I'm going to tack down one leg first. So that is actually the ground pin, and I'm going to heat that up. And move this into position and try and get it. Actually, that looks pretty good with just each leg on a pad. And then I just go through here one at a time and heat them up. It actually is, it goes really easily. And then I'll heat back up that other one. And yeah, I'll try and see if I can get you a good enough look. So I just heat up the pad and then put just a little daub of solder on there. So this one has a bunch of bridges, as you can see, but it's actually pretty easy to fix if you just heat it all up and then kind of draw the solder away. You can see right there, yeah, so that took care of all of them. And now they're all separated, so I'm just going to get a little bit of that extra solder out of the way. And yeah, that looks pretty good, so there's no shorts in there. Everything looks to be pretty well connected. connected. Now I'm going to get the battery connector placed in there, and just like everything else, it really helps to get that first pin soldered down. And then I go for the second one. And then this one, it's not really critical, but for just natural wear and tear, it has these little anchor tabs over here. So if I just use that flat end and get a little bit in there, that just kind of helps to keep the JST connector down close to the board. There we go. So those are all the surface mount components soldered on there. You can see it's pretty easy. The next thing I'm going to do is this little tilt ball sensor, which is used for the feedback. And in order to do that, I'm going to just bend the one leg down at a 90-degree angle. And then I also like to kind of get this, get my pliers here, kind of get this bent down so it rests nice and flush with the board. Got that and that. And then bend the little thin wire. You do have to be kind of careful with that one. And then I'm going to stick the thin wire in there first, and then the thicker one, and that lays pretty flush with the board. And this is a pretty standard through-hole component, except we do have a very thin wire over on this side. Snip that off. Alright. Now we have that one. I'm going to put the switch on here. And again, this is a pretty standard through-hole component. What the switch does is it does power the device off, but it also isolates the port that you can add on here for charging the battery. So there is a little connector there. You can put a secondary JST connector if you want to add a charger onto it, and so when you slide the switch off, it just isolates the battery directly to the output to the charger, but doesn't power the circuit. So it'll still charge the battery with it on as well. But that's mostly what the switch does. So now I'm going to install my larger JST connector for the NeoPixels. That goes right in there. Again, this is a pretty standard through-hole component. There is a solder jumper that you may have noticed right there. That goes to pin number 2 on the ATtiny85. I haven't really done anything with that yet, but I put that in there just in case I want to have some sort of like a latching mode. What I might do is in the programming, there's a couple of different ways that I've set it up for being able to change the mode and the color. And then also, I figured it'd be really handy for people who are making finished products if you want to lock in the number of LEDs, because you can change the number of LEDs with the right button combination. And so you could change that and then lock it out forever by just bridging that jumper. I haven't quite figured out what I plan on doing for that just yet. And then these are the two different ports for switching the color and the mode. I am in this case going to add a couple of push buttons, and I'm actually going to bend them so they are on the side over there. And this can be nice for stuff that you want to set and then not really change them. But really, like, you can put whatever type of button on there. I have a couple where it does the like remote button switch, things like that. So those just fit right in there like that. Let me solder them together. And then I will clip off my extra legs here. And that is it. So that is a fully assembled LEDiva. All that's left is to flash the program. This right here is for using basically an FTDI. I have my own programmer set up there using an Arduino Uno as an AVR, and those are all the programming pins. So I have a special connector with for doing that, but yeah, it's not anything really. It's just programmed like a regular AT-Tiny. The only other thing that is kind of an option for people is adding the charger port, and rather than having another one of these so you get a little confused, I use this form factor for the JST connector. So this is yeah, this is the other JST connector that you can use for that. But also, I've got a whole bunch of these. So what I like about these is you can just plug it right in the place of a battery into any one of those normal lithium battery chargers. So if I do my minus here and my plus here, and I'm going to just solder that in. And snip off the excess. Let's see. Yeah, I might do just a little bit more there, just to be safe. All right, and there we have it. So we've got the LEDiva now, and and this little wire here for connecting it to the charger. So just like a regular lithium battery, you can plug your lithium battery in here, plug this into the end that you'd normally plug your lithium battery into your charger, and when you flip the switch, that will switch to charging only, and then turn it on. So that's how these little guys are put together. All that's left is the programming, and I'll do that later on today. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later.